All right, now we're on there, fellas. That's better, hey? It's not glitching from my end?
No, it sounds a bit better, yeah.
Yep. Cool.
All right. Welcome, fellas. People watching, this is Ryan, Stuart and Bolj. We're the men behind Wise Men's Gathering. Also good brother men, and we do a lot of work together.
Yeah.
Tonight, we kind of had a little glitch now, so we're just restarting it. But the thing we want to talk about, and the thing we're drawn to talk about is this kind of concept of, and Bolj really kind of heads this up for us, with the young bucks and old bulls, or what do you call it, Bolj?
Young bulls, old bulls.
Yeah, right. And essentially what, this is like this intergenerational clashing, okay?
Yeah, that's right. Yep. I call them, I refer to us both, myself being the old bull, and the young bulls would be an apprentice or anyone up to like, say, 30 years old. I'm 48, so I think I'm the old bull in the school, you know.
What happened to Stu, mate?
What's that?
What does Stu get to be?
He's a what is he, raving? No, Maverick, man.
Renegade Maverick.
Stu's neither or both. He can be what he wants.
I write my own category.
That's it. Uncategorizable.
We might have to sit a circle for him not feeling like he doesn't belong.
I'll sit my own circle.
Okay, buddy. Okay.
Yeah. We need to get bigger screens on the phones, Ryan, you and I.
Yeah, I know. Oh, that's great. What do you think about these young bucks, old bulls? That's kind of where I want to talk about on this call. Is everyone else cool with that?
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of it, Stuart?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty interesting concept. I've talked a lot to Bolj about it in the past, and the difficulty that some people find in communicating between between the generations, but also between people of different levels. So, like he's saying, apprentices and people who've been in the job for years. It's kind of like another symptom of the breakdown of that passage of information. Of rites of passage that men would have had in the past. So I think it's just another sign that shows us that we're kind of like a little bit off kilter with where we're at.
Yeah. So I think like you said, it's not only age, it's also level. So you could say that, like, because some guys, they're young supervisors. I would class them, like at the moment, I've got a young supervisor. He's 32 and he's still young. He's only done one type of plumbing, internal plumbing, and now he's trying to come into a external plumbing job, which is mostly civil works, and at the same time retain his, because he's a big supervisor now, he wants to retain his level.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like he has there's an ego problem there because he doesn't want to look like he doesn't know what he's doing, so he can't ask for help, and he has a serious problem with me trying to give him some.
Man, it's interesting, right? Because there's also an element, I think, of business being in this where there isn't a lot of room for people to fuck up or learn. Simon talks about this a lot, where people's livelihood is at the expense of the financial success of a business. So I think a lot of pressure on people to not fuck up in business or not show like they need help or that they're, we could term it as weak.
Nice. Yep. Unfortunately, yeah. Very, very well said, man.
Like we'll talk about this, Bolj, and it touches on this idea that I have that we call these people apprentices when you're doing an apprenticeship, which is generally around a trade, but the apprentice system used to be something that was quite commonplace in Western societies, and it wasn't called this, but it was prevalent in all sorts of societies where people would go and work with someone to learn a vocation, but it wasn't about, like, the vocation was learning one thing, but they were also getting mentored by another person who wasn't necessarily their father. Sometimes it was, but there was that learning of life that was happening. Mm-hmm. And so, like, now now we're just focused on the job. So if you become an apprentice plumber, you learn how to plumb, but all the life skills and things like that, you're going to be picking them up from a plumber who is putting a lot of pressure on you to complete a task for money. And so they're probably going to, you know, not be worrying about so much what kind of person they're developing at the end of the day. And as a result, like, you know, that person will be a cunt.
Yeah.
If that's how they're getting treated. Like if your boss is getting, like, treating you like a cunt, which happens a lot in the trades, then that's what's going to come out, and that's how they're going to treat their apprentices when they get apprentices. Maybe some people don't, like yourself, Bolj. Like, I don't know how you were treated when you were learning the trade, but
Yeah, I had 4 fist when I was.
What was that?
Pretty rough, man. I had 4 fist fights on the job when I was learning the trade, different
Yeah,
times.
you're a fighter though, mate. That doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah, oh, dude,
You know, I could drop you on a peace conference, mate, and you'd probably get into 4 fist fights.
if you were there, that'll be right.
But yeah, like this is one of the things that I see with the you know, the so-called apprentice system that we have nowadays. It's we're kind of neglecting a big part of it. But that's no fault of anyone really, because the system is set up around making money first and foremost, and middle and last. Like, that's the front line, the middle line, the bottom line is all about making money, not about developing better human beings, or developing, like we were talking about, creating a better culture within trades.
Yeah.
You know, I talk a lot about, like, my experiences traveling to Japan. I've been to Japan quite a few times, where they, you know, they kind of lost it, but they've still retained very slightly this ethos of mastery. So in some of their vocations, the people will always strive, and it doesn't matter what it is. It could be like crafting beautiful works, it could be making kimonos, it could be scrubbing toilets, but whatever it is, that person wants to be the master of that art. And and that's still there, apparent in their society, and I think we've just kind of let that go by the wayside very much.
Nice point, man.
Yeah, I agree with it being about the money and the system, but it's like that for me. That's like a slippery slope. We could blame any system for there being a shit fight, or like at what point is it our human responsibility or our humanity to? And I think Bolj does this well. I know you, Bolj, so I trust you, and I only hear your version of what's happening. But I feel like you do this well in owning that. Well, yeah, that's cool. That's how it is, but it doesn't have to be like that for me.
Mm. Yeah, that's how I roll. Exactly how I roll, man. So this will blow you guys and any listeners away. At the moment, they're pricing big jobs, like really serious, over $1 million jobs. The pipe work, they're pricing to pull it out and do it 3 times. They're not pricing it to do it once.
So they're expecting, like, people to stuff it up. 2
times. They're allowed people to fuck it up twice, and then 3rd time they got to get it right. Then they cover the bills.
Wow.
Does that commonly happen? Are you seeing in the workplace people then working to that standard and going, like, do you see it getting pulled up twice and getting done on the 3rd time?
Yep. Often I turn up on a job and I'm probably one of the only guys that turns up and says, "Stop, everyone stop. What you just did, we'll just pull it all out. Let's start again before you go any further. Just stop right now." That's it. It's not right. Like you can see in 5 minutes, really, by checking critical assets, how the job's rolling, and you just need to pull up and then go through the whole process. You know, start again, because everyone's supposed to follow their safe work method statements. But what that does, when you follow your safe work method statement to the letter, you leave out tiny little things that actually make a difference. Because the safe work method statement won't say you need to compact the haunch of a pipe, which is basically the sand up to halfway on the pipeline. It doesn't say that. It just says compact materials. Or, you know, and so everyone just compacts materials. They throw a metre of dirt straight on top of it, and they've already missed two levels of compaction. So what happens is it rains and then all that dirt turns into mud, basically, in a really long story. But it just leaves themselves open to too many mistakes. And so you get these supervisors turn up that don't know how to do that particular type of job. They refer back to their safe work method statement, and it just keeps getting done wrong.
Sorry, and is this like but wait, so the old bulls are like, no, you need to do it like this and just fucking do it like this because this is how you do it. And then the young guns are coming in and going, well, I've got my certificate and my accreditation because I went to uni and I want to do it like this because the certificate says to, and then there's a clash of heads. Or
yeah, that's it. Nice. Yep. Very nice. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, what will happen is the supervisor, who to me is not an old bull, I'll just say the supervisor, he will say, we need to go from point A to point B today, boys. This is the job. We need it done. And so everyone will go point A to point B, and they've all been to uni or the TAFE. They've all got work method statements and the certificates, and they all know exactly what they're doing, but they don't actually know the small bits that make it different, the things that make a job passable and the things that won't make a job passable. So then all they do is they're getting better at making themselves look good and blaming mistakes on other people.
So two sort of questions that come up for me there is, how do you think that ethos in work reflects or impacts kind of the masculinity and like the assumption being here that it's a mainly male workplace, because I know it is. So how do you think that impacts a man? Like, so how's that work or that work ethos impacting, young men or even old men in their masculinity, in their expression of masculinity, or whatever it is as men? And then the second part of it, like, how do you think that it could be fixed?
So the first part, it squashes each man's masculinity. The old bull, or the young bull, I mean. The old bull's masculinity he's being a man, his man card just gets taken straight off him because he's done the work. He's done like the 20 years, let's say, or he's done the work to get to become an old bull. I can't really put a time limit on it, but he's done the work. He's an old bull. He should be able to use his knowledge freely to get the job done. And so if he passes his knowledge on to the young guys, then the young guys will know it. They'll know the small bits and pieces, how to fix the job to do it, or not even fix it, do it right the first time. But what happens is, because he's now got in a position as a supervisor, he thinks that, well, he's just been squashed now, right? You're the foreman, you have to do this and you've got to do it by today. I don't care about, compaction on the pipes. I don't care about that. I just need it done, So I've got to give away my man card to be the supervisor to do that. So the old bull gets squashed. He has no more, he loses his masculinity. And then I spend every day for the rest of my life being a squashed little person, And so bring the young fellas that apparently can't work, that I disagree with wholeheartedly or vehemently. I think young guys are great. They're just not being spoken to properly because the old bulls are too cranky. And so what you said before, Stu, about the old bulls passing this knowledge down, then they're not being mentors at all. They're just being cunts to the young guys. So then the young guys just give it back in their own way, So why would they want to try and work hard? Why would they want to think for themselves? So what happens then, in answer to the first question, is the young guys don't get to develop a mature, what I would call a mature masculinity, maybe, because they're not allowed to they don't learn how to make decisions for themselves. And so they spend all day being pissed off with life, and then they're going to leave work and find some way to self-medicate, I suppose, and take it out on the world. So they become cunts. And then, I think anyway, and then you go to school and you learn exactly how to do it, and that's it. You just that's all you ever know, because you don't know the intricacies on doing a task, that you get from say 20 years of doing it. Is that film still on track? Yeah, I think so, yeah. And then second part to that.
How do you feel it can be fixed, and like what what impact would men kind of developing themselves bring to the workplace? So if a man was to go away and sort of do whatever work and try and internal work and masculinity work, whatever you want to call it, and then try and bring that into that workplace, how do you think that would impact it?
Okay, so I think to fix that, at the risk of sounding like I'm an advertiser for the three of us, but I think the way to fix it is listen and open your heart in a safe place that we're trying to do. Because once, even a young man or an old man becoming a young bull and trying to become or stick to yourself to be an old bull so you can teach the young guys, it means you have to actually find yourself. You have to know within yourself, you have to trust yourself enough to know that you're right. And if you're an old bull and you've already spent 20 years of being stepped on, and the only thing you know is you work your way up, you start off as a labourer, you first year, second year, journeyman, that sort of stuff. 10 years later, you're a supervisor, then you go right up to being a project manager or something. But you spend the whole time being squashed because you're not allowed to think for yourself, because you've got these statements, you've got safe work member statement, you've got all these other things you have to stick to, but no one's interested in your actual knowledge. So you actually get squashed and you get destroyed. So if you say, if I didn't stick to my guns that we talked about briefly before, then I wouldn't be able to say this because I know it's true. I wouldn't know that it's true, but I know this is true. And I know that from the work that we've already done, if some man or woman, because I've seen there's women out there as well, but they're tough, man. They're great. I've seen women, they're kicking ass, man. I really like it. And the guys, they're acting, they're nice to them, they're nice to the girls that I've seen. But get the men in a circle, get us all back in love with us, and get us feeling that we can question our knowledge and not take it personal, because that's a big problem. Look, why are we doing that? Is a lot different to, what are you doing that for, you fucking idiot? That's stupid. So people aren't hearing. So I might say, look, Stu, you might say to me, why are we going to do that? That's what I hear. But if I got problems within myself, whether I'm young bull or old bull, if you ask me why are we doing that, I'll probably hearing, because I've got an ego problem, is what the fuck are you talking about, idiot? You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, man. This so Bolji, this for me, what coming up for me is that this attachment to, an attachment to an identity where there's such a lack of self-connection that it leads to, so it's like, I'm Ryan and I'm a yoga teacher. But before I'm a yoga teacher, I'm me. So it's like, I'm Bolj and I'm a plumber. But that's just something you do. Plumbing is something you've learned, and it's a skill. And when it's not, for me, in my journey, when I was really attached to being an athlete, I was defensive as all fuck. And I had a massive ego. And then once I realized, this is just something I do, and actually I can share and offer this wisdom that I've learned from all these years of direct experience, it was like, because someone's like, hey, have you thought of doing it like that? It's like, no, I haven't. And here's how I've done it. It's like, because it's not a direct assault on me. So I really resonate with what you're saying around the, for me, it's not enough self-knowing, or there's not enough, and again, I would almost put a lot of this down to a system where we're educated to be something other than ourselves. So we're educated to fit into a system instead of just taught how to be ourselves and then go and figure out which system we want to be a part of.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. That's why I think I really love the work the three of us are doing, because we're all coming from such a good place. We all come from such varied paths, and we've all done so much work together and on each other or separately by ourselves, that we can that I can see that, not only because of the work we've done, but the personal work myself. But now I feel so good to be able to talk about that, especially with you guys. Look, I know the things you went through, Ryan, the Stu's been through, and it's just turned us into amazing people. I think the real bit of a long answer for you, Stu, is if we could get men to sit down and open up and realise that it's okay to be who they are, just to get balanced again, Let the old bulls realise that the young bulls are worth talking to. We need to bring these guys up. We need to mentor them. We need to take a deep breath and realise, let's do the job properly first time, instead of flying through it that fast that we're just going to fuck it up and have to come back and do it again. And then everyone's blaming everyone for shit that shouldn't happen.
Pretty
No
good
wonder,
analogy for life.
no wonder workplace accidents happen, man. It's insane, the amount of workplace accidents that happen, dude. Far out.
Well, it's part of the culture to not question either. Like, to not, from that young bull perspective, to not question anything that's going on. If you're told to do something, you do it. The old hazing of apprentice kind of trope of like, hey, go pick me up a left-handed screwdriver, or go pick me up some checkered paint or something like that. Yeah, where they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll go do that, because they don't know any better.
Yep.
And they'll do stupid things. But then the problem with that is that oh yeah, put in all these fittings on this floor, and then they go like, I don't think it's the right fitting, but the boss said put in the fittings, so I'll put in the fittings. And so there's that culture of not having critical thinking, not having the ability to critically think, and not having the space in which to question stuff.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Love that you brought that up, man. I've got a quick example of that, actually, exactly that. One of the apprentices he now works with me full time. Now he's not working out in the buildings at the moment. The site super, the guy that is 34 years old, he's still a young super. He won't listen to nothing. He's just a young bull to me. He's just, oh God, we really got a lot to learn. Anyway, he says to him, 3rd floor, you got to hook up a bubbler, and you got to hook it up off the Vitolic system. You got to go to a bubbler, and you've got to use these fittings, and it has to happen in the next half an hour. Go. So the apprentice, what goes up, the Vitolic fitting means it's just basically a high pressure fitting and a metal pipe, and then he's got to connect to a plastic pipe with plastic fittings and get to a bubbler. So the problem with putting all that onto a bubbler on the 3rd floor is that the 2 floors underneath it, the buildings were finished. The houses or the units were finished. They were just about at lock up. So there's carpets, gyprock and all that sort of stuff. And then they got this bubbler on the 3rd floor where they just connected it to a high pressure water main to a bubbler with the incorrect fittings, because it just doesn't work like that off a high pressure fitting, because in time the pressure builds up and something's got to blast, something's got to pop. So the apprentice did exactly what he was told, hooked it up with the fittings on the ground, hooks it all up, finishes the day, nothing's leaked, you beauty. We all come back to work next day, holy fuck, the fittings blew out overnight and it's flooded the first 2 floors. They have to pull the carpets out. They have to pull the gyprock 100 mil up, cut it all off, replace it. The dramas are huge because of that. First thing the fucking supervisor does is he blames the apprentice. And the apprentice says, and I was there for this conversation, I fucking knew it was going to be wrong, but they're the fittings that you threw at me, that you told me to do it like that, and you don't let me do my own things. I knew it was wrong. I just did it. And the supervisor goes, well, why don't you just fix it on the go? It's your job. You should have fixed it.
Oh.
Yeah, true. Threw him totally under the bus, man. So I just grabbed AJ and I walked out and said, don't worry about it, bro. Come on, we'll go somewhere else. You just hang out with me, dude. Let's go. And the other supervisors still barking in the background. We just kept walking. It's just...
So this supervisor you were saying, like, to you, is also a young bull. Like, he's a young supervisor.
Yep. Yep. Young on numbers, but young in his head too.
Yeah. Yeah, because it, like, I feel like I've seen this kind of example a few times, and it's kind of like falls into this category that I call like the facsimile of man, where people fake it till they make it. They look at an image of like, oh, okay, that's what a supervisor does. That's what a boss does. Yep. He wears these clothes. He barks like this. He does these sorts of things. I'll do that. And it's like the outward appearance, like you're cloaking yourself, dressing yourself up like a man. This is what I feel like hipsters are to a T. Like they get the tattoos and they grow the beard and, they, I don't know, go out and buy hunting bows to hang on their wall or whatever, but they don't really know what the substance behind it is. Like what it actually takes to get there. It's not about the beard. It's about like, the fact that you're probably spending months on end out in the bush in cold environments, and that's why you have a beard. Or, yeah, I mean, that's a weird example, but
I don't know, man.
It's the substance behind it. Like, what does it actually take to be a supervisor? Not what does the supervisor end product put out, and if I can just emulate that.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Like, this is, for me, we're talking about that, planting trees that we're not gonna sit in the shade of. So it's like just trying to go to this. You know, we know where we want to go and we know where we are, but we're unwilling to tread that. People be unwilling to tread that path in between and deviate from the path and get messed up and come back to the path and go off the other side and get hurt and come back. Like, it's very much this. Yeah, like, but far out. I'm seeing it, like, from listening to what you're saying, Bolj, it's kind of both, like, how many generations deeper we're into instant gratification? Even if we didn't have phones when these old bulls were coming through, it still sounds like they want it done the way they want it done, and they want it done now. And then the young guys are going, well, I got a certificate, so I want it done the way I want it done, and I want it done now. And it's like, no, I don't know. There's no real time play. There's no actual appreciation for the circumstance.
Yeah, well, that's how I roll, and that's why all the younger guys are gravitating to me.
Mm.
It's really shining. Like, they love it. I've told all these supervisors now to fuck off. In conversations, I've got concrete on the ground, I'm going to do this, and they're going, you can't do that, you can't do this. I'll just go, dude, turn around and fuck off. I'll just walk off the job and leave you with all this to yourself. You want to do that? You can't say that, Bolj, it's too late, I'll set it. Go. Get out of here. You're like a fucking primary school kid. What are you standing here arguing with me for? Just go, mate. I haven't got time to argue with you. So off they go. I bring the apprentices back, cool the situation down, and it just happens, man. It's just happening.
How do you deal with those people with it? Is there a way to deal with them without the fuck off? You know what I mean? Like,
it's easy for me to do that, but for the young guys, it's real hard. And that's a great question, man. So the way to deal with it is there is a way through company channels to do that.
Yeah.
But you're up against the wall. The company always backs the supervisor. So what is happening on the job is we're getting there's like core groups of guys, and it's all starting to shine. It's just happening naturally on this site. So I'll do the next 3 weeks with this bunch of apprentices, and then a couple of them pulled off to the next job. And then I really hope that they've got now enough knowledge to know that they're allowed to ask questions, or don't walk in the 2 metre exclusion zone, or don't do this, or don't do that, because it's just not common sense. Yeah. Stick with what you know in your heart is common sense. If that fitting's not the proper fitting, don't do it because the supervisor says to do it. Stop, get the proper fitting. Then that you're allowed to stand up for yourself in a way that isn't rude, because your proof is in your work. You know, these guys have to be rude because they've proven that their work's right. You know,
man, a coach said this to me once. She said, Ryan, it's okay to ask questions, but it might not be so useful to be questioning. And I was like,
I get that.
It's like, yeah. And for a long time I was brash in questioning, and I just, maybe it's about asking questions. But there's, like, that takes of what, you know, that word everyone loves at the moment, vulnerability. It takes a fair bit of that to be willing to go, yo, I don't understand, I don't know, and I need help.
Yeah, nice. Yep. So the one thing I have said, and this has come up a few times, and within myself, is I feel like guys are kind of stalling the job and just asking too many questions or the same thing too many times. Is I just say, boys, take a deep breath and let's just have a quick look at how it has to fit, what we're going to do to finish the job, and then all the bits in between it'll just happen. Give us 10 minutes. Let's just do it, and then you'll see why. You'll see how it all happens. You know, it'll unfold. Instead of saying, why are we at 450 centres, or why are we using a short pipe coming in and out of structures, you know, or 2 shorts. Just say, hang on, I've explained it and you still don't get it. That's cool. Just have a look for 10 minutes. Let's do the job. And then you'll see exactly why that's supposed to be. There's a practical reason for that. And so, and that's worked for me a few times as well. Actually, I can't remember a time that's actually not worked. And people appreciate it because they don't have to be talked to, you know. You don't have to talk to everyone all the time, because that's part of workplace as well. There's such a beautiful thing when your job just happens and everybody's happy, you know, and all of a sudden, bam, it's smoke. Whoa. You know, we've been here since 6:30 till 9:30, just like that. and look at the job. Everyone's smiling, you know. Next thing we're talking about, what are we going to have? A coffee? Are we going to have a, you know, cappuccino? We're going to have like a Kransky roll or what? You know, like it just changes instantly, and everyone's happy. You know, it's cool. Wow, shit, let's go. Smoke it. And then you look at the job you've just done. You got real good pride within yourself. I think is something too. I try to make everybody feel, because I think everyone's forgetting that we're all going to work because we all have a reason to make money. You know, my reasons to make money is because I love my wife and my kids, and I need to make money to pay for the mortgage and to keep everyone eating and in clothes. And my end goal is not to work till I die. My end goal is to get on top of my bills, stop working, and live off the land that I'm on. So that's why I go to work, and it makes me happy to do that. I'll get a real kick out of that. You know? And so I'm trying to instill that in the guys that I work with as well, and they're getting that. It's starting to roll, you know. The pride in their work, so they're getting things done right. It's done cool as well.
Yeah, it's a balance. That's, I guess, what, Stu, you're talking about with the mastery, right?
Yeah. It's like one of the undercurrents here, I think, is like that instant gratification and the shortcut kind of nature of that need that we have to kind of, you know, I say we, I definitely have it to like, I want to just skip to the end or get to the end. And what you were saying before, Ryan, it's like, or to quote the title of a very good book, it's a path made by walking. Like we don't just set out to make a path. We just actually walk the walk, and the path gets made by walking it over and over again. You know, like I didn't get 1,000-mile stare from like watching Clint Eastwood films. I got it from staring 1,000 miles, you know, from being a bit crazy.
Oh, sorry.
Very much.
Yeah, it's I hear. I mean, essentially, it's. We talked about this the other night. Well, I wrote it in our brief. You know, no longer do we have this, you know, intergenerational shared experience that's challenging and it's adverse, and there's no hierarchy. There's just collaboration. We don't have this. I feel what's really lacking is experiences where men of all ages are put together and they're pitted against something that is far greater than them, such as nature. You know, there's no bureaucratic hierarchy to lean back on to say I'm number one. It's just like, fuck, we need to survive. What do you got?
Nice.
No free lunches in nature.
No
Free lunches in nature. I like that. Oh my God, let's get that put on a t-shirt. We can brand that up and sell it for a pop to all those hipsters you love, Stu.
Write a book, the book of Stu, the 1,001 quotes. How are we doing for time, mate?
No, it's all good. It's meant to be raining, so I was going to go pick Nass up, but she said she's walking.
All right. I don't want to miss out on the 3 questions for Bolj.
Oh, fuck, I forgot what they are. Oh, yeah, no, I've got them. Okay. And also, I just want to say for anyone listening, Stu has a beard and he has tattoos. So, and he has a bow. So
please notice I do not have a top knot, and I do not know how to barista a coffee. So I can drink it, but I can't be a barista.
All right. Well,
and you actually can go and live for a month only hunting as well.
Well, our job here is not to bolster him up.
Got to cut him down, man.
Bolj, I want you to give some final words before we ask you the famous 3 questions. Right. Final words on, so what do you think the solution is here?
Breathing deep. Breathing deep, sitting down with honest men and having a cry or realising on everything you've just missed out in your life and step up. And then you'll find that it's okay to be who you're supposed to be, because you don't want to miss out on anything else, I reckon. So if I could say to an old bull with problems and a young bull with problems, I'd say come and sit down with the 3 of us Let's have a chat. None of us are going to give you a hug. We're not going to walk around in the nude and sing Kumbaya. We just want to hear what you got to say, and we're going to try and bring you back to who you are, so that you feel free enough and open enough and honest enough to be who you are.
Mic drop that shit, Bolj. Epic. Okay, all right. I'm definitely going to snippet that out of this video and put it as a quote. That was on point, Bolj. Epic.
Bowles gets the book. Stu gets the book. The book of Stu with 1,000 quotes. I've got the book of Bowles with quote.
Yeah, you only need bloody one when you Bolger. You're on point. All right, the 3 questions. Do you want to ask him, Stu? Do you remember what they are?
Yeah. Question the first. All right, so Bolj, I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to think of the answer, and then go ahead and describe that thing that you answer in as much detail with as many adjectives as you can. So first is your favorite animal. Go.
Short, really, really muscly, runs
What is
fast. Oh, you want me to keep explaining, or you want me to tell you?
No, what animal?
Oh, honey badger.
Oh, okay, go on. Keep going.
Oh, you want me to tell you more about it?
Yeah, describe the honey badger to me. Like, I don't know what honey badger is.
Oh, okay. So it's
No, wait. That's setting him up for an interesting answer. Bolj, you have to describe what it is you love about the honey badger with as many descriptive words as possible.
Okay, what do I love about them? Their tenacity is second to none. They're scared of nothing. They are ultra loyal and love to eat honey, and get bitten by bees, but they don't have they have no natural anti-venom to bee poison. They get bitten that many times they pass out and nearly die. But then the bees die biting them, so then they can eat the honey like a day later once they've got over all the poison.
Wow.
So they just do not stop, man. They are so strong and so don't stop, man. They're awesome. I love them. They're great. Even big, massive, big tigers and lions and shit run away from them, man. They can run through a den of lions and the lions fuck off. Because they don't want to touch them.
Epic. Okay, great answer. Honey badger's answered. Not Bolger's number one. Bolger's number one favorite animal is honey badger because it's fucking fearless, ferocious, can take a beating and get back up.
That's it. and you know what? It might not always, but it will always please the crowd.
I missed that. What was that? Sorry.
It might not always win, but it will always please the crowd.
Stu, Bolj, I can't wait till you understand why we're asking you these questions.
What's the number one?
All right. Question the second. Your favorite item of clothing.
So I've got to tell you what it is and then why I like it. Okay,
Yep.
My favourite item of clothing is a white T-shirt with evolution of a man that starts off as a monkey, then it steps up to a gorilla, then it steps up to whatever the first sort of human being is, and then the second one, and then it evolutionises to the third one, which is supposed to be us right now holding a bow. And every time it shows the monkey holds a stick, second monkey has a longer stick, third, like the big guy has a, before he turns into a proper male, has another one. He's starting to learn how to hunt. Second one goes to a bow, third one bow, fourth one turns into the sort of bow that we're used to seeing. Underneath it is called Evolution of Man.
And describe, like, what is it about that you like?
It's clean. Because I don't wear it very often. So it's clean. It says a nice story that I really like. And it's pretty funny too. It's nice and funny because of the way that it portrays man as evolving. And it, in a way, portrays me as well.
Okay. Nice.
Nice. Okay, third and final question. Your favorite body of water, be it like the ocean, a lake, a river, where it's located, or, just generally.
Yep, used to be the ocean, now swimming hole at the property where we live. And
Tell me why you love it.
Because it's why? Because it's natural. We are keeping it. We're not even fishing in it. We're keeping it as natural as possible. The water is pristinely clean. It's freezing cold. It never has, even the big drought that we've just been through, it's always been water there. It's never let us down. It's fun. There's a lot of the time you can walk there quietly in the morning and you'll see things like platypus or you'll see fish jumping. What else? There's heaps, man. It's just so good. And, yeah, awesome.
Beautiful.
Great.
I got no idea what's about that.
All right, Ryan, give it to him, man.
Okay, so the first question is, what's your favourite animal? And the description is what you're looking for in a lover or in a partner.
Nailed it.
Pretty much got that, boys. Yeah, awesome. Wow. The second one, your favourite item of clothing is what you love about yourself. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Good man.
Clean. What was it? Clean, funny.
Yeah.
That was great.
I think
Evolving.
Evolving. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And the third one was the way you like to make love.
I especially liked it's fun and I can sneak up on it in the mornings.
And I loved how he goes, it never runs dry.
It never runs dry.
Too good.
It's too funny, dude.
Oh, too funny. All right, boys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, fellas. My woman is home. I'm going to go.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
All right, I'm going to go to men's circle tonight, fellas, but let's do it again soon. Talk more. I'd love to talk about anger with you guys next.
Nice.
No.
I also want to talk about anger with you guys.
No.
This is recorded and getting posted.
Shit.
You're ruining it.
All right, sweet dudes.
All right, much love, guys.
Love you, man. See ya.
Love you guys.
See ya.